All right, good morning, guys. We'll go ahead and get started. How's it going? We've got like, what, 4 weeks left? Is everyone more excited that it's going to be the end of the semester or more stressed about the end of the, yeah, a little bit of both. Me too. So just let's go over some things that are coming up, and then we'll talk about some things from last week as well. So quiz 2 grades are posted on Blackboard, so go ahead and check those out. Everyone did pretty well, so good job on that. And then I know, Leah, you emailed me about the piano in my profession. So we're going to present our piano in my profession projects on November 18th. That's a Thursday. Okay, and we're just going to do all group presentations in one day. Okay, on Thursday the 18th. And the essay is going to be due that day as well. Okay, I'll probably just have it due on Blackboard like by the end of the day. Okay, so I'll make that assignment on Blackboard. So the essay and the presentation will take place on November 18th. Does anyone have any questions about that project? Has everyone been able? Yes, Margot.
Sorry, I'm a little confused about like how we're supposed to do it because the instructions are like very vague and it's kind of confusing. So if you could just like explain the assignment itself.
Yeah, so basically you're in a group with people that are of your same major, and you're going to be interviewing faculty members that are in your field. So were you able to see the
Yeah, no.
list of
So like
people?
I looked at it and I understand
The process?
The process. I just don't understand what you want us to include, like specifically to make it up to like 5 to 10 minutes long.
It doesn't really need to be 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
I would say like 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
But I would just say, ask questions like, obviously, how do you use piano in your field? Why is it important to have piano skills in your field? And ask questions like that. And also questions that you're interested in. And then present on basically what you have found.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So it's really just, you could literally just present the interview process. Like I would have somebody during the interview transcribe literally like what was said, and then during your presentation just kind of summarize what you found from the interview. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it doesn't need to be 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Were some people able to contact their interview person? Okay, cool. Yeah, so if you have any other questions on that, please let me know. But yeah. Okay, and then also our final exam is going to take place during the exam week, during our exam time slot. So that's going to be Tuesday, December 7th from 8 to 10 a.m. Obviously, it's not going to take 2 hours for every single person. You're going to have a time slot that you sign up for within that time period. But I would just put in your calendar December 7th, 8 o'clock. Okay. And finally, we've got our practice partnerships form due on Sunday. I don't have a spot to upload that on Blackboard yet, so I'm going to do that as soon as possible. So just know that you do have a PPSR form due this Sunday. I just need to create the assignment. Okay. Any questions on anything upcoming? Okay, great. Let's go ahead and warm up with B major scale. So that is on page 142.
Oh, I have one question.
Yes, Margo.
We wouldn't have class the Thursday after the exam, correct? Or would we?
No, because that's exam week. So our last day of actual classes would be,
Oh, we don't have. It's just the test stuff in time?
yeah, during exam week, you're done with classes at that point.
So like the week of the 6th to 10th is exam week, correct?
Yes. So our last day of actual class is December 2nd. Okay, and then you just have to show up for your finals during finals week. Okay. Yeah, because I have in my calendar, the last day of classes is technically December 4th. And then you have finals. Okay. So let's do a B major. It's on page 142. And I do want to say, for your final exam, these scales need to be memorized. So you won't be using your Alfred book. But just to kind of familiarize ourselves with the fingerings, we can use the book for now, but just know that you won't be able to use your book for the exam. Okay. So at the bottom of page 142, we've got B major. And remember, with B major, we're going to be using all 5 of the black keys. So I think a really easy way to practice this one is to kind of block the groups of black keys together. So say you're doing your right hand, you would start with the white key B, and then finger 2 and 3, you can play C sharp and D sharp at the same time, just to kind of feel your position. And then our only other white key that we have is E. So then you go underneath with your thumb on E, and then finger 2, 3, and 4 sits very comfortably on the 3 black keys, so you can play those all together. And then B's at the top, and you keep doing that same pattern. So kind of just do B together, 3 black keys together, E, 3 black keys. Okay, and that should just help you feel your position a little bit better. Okay, so our only 2 white keys that we're using are B and E. Okay, so run through B major right hand for now. Unfortunately, I can't get my show up because the laptop is once again not loading, but I think you can find the B that is below middle C at this point. Okay, and then we'll try together. Can everyone hear my piano okay and stuff? Okay. Okay, let's try right hand B major scale. I'm starting on the B that is below middle C. Okay. We'll be in 4/4 time. We'll go 2 octaves. Hold the top note for 2 beats and then repeat the note coming back down. Okay. 1, 2, ready, play. And 1, 2 black keys. Pivot under E. 2, 3, 4. Here's B again. 2, 3 under. 2, 3, 4. Hold. Repeat the note. Coming down. Cross finger 3. Here's B. Cross 4. And 1 on E. Cross 3. Okay. How did that feel? Any questions? Cool. All right. Let's do the left hand. And how is the left hand fingering different from our standard major scale fingering? We start on 4, right? Because if we start on 5, we're going to end up with finger 1 on the black key, and that's not comfortable, right? So we're going to start on finger 4. And again, we'll have our finger 2 and 3 on the 2 black keys, and finger 4, 3, and 2 on the 3 black keys. So again, you could do that blocking technique. So play your B, C sharp and D sharp, E, and then your F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, just to feel your positions there. Okay, so play around with left hand B major 2 octaves, and then we'll try it together. Okay, let's try it. So we got finger 4 on the B that is lower than the B we started for our right hand. Okay. We'll be in 4/4 time, same type of thing. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Cross 4, 3 black keys. 1 on B. Cross 3, 1 on E. Cross 4. Here's the top repeat. Underneath, here's B, 3 black keys. Under with E, questions? Cool. And then for the arpeggio, we're going to be using fingers 1, 2, and 3, and 5 for both hands. So let's do the right hand first. So before we start, let's stretch out our hand to cover that octave position. That way we're ready to feel our spatial awareness as we move. Okay, so we're going to play B, D sharp, F sharp, under with B, D sharp, F sharp, and then think of 5 at the top. And then 5, 3, 2, 1, over 3, 2, 1. Okay, so think smooth, horizontal motion. Okay, play around with that, and then we'll try together. Okay, let's try it. We're in 3/4 time. We're going to hold the top note for 3 beats, and then repeat coming back down. All right, here is the B that is below middle C. All right, 1, 2, 3. Ready, play, and 1, 2, 3, under 1, 2, 3, hold the top, and 5, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Okay, any questions on the right hand arpeggio? Okay, let's do the left hand arpeggio, and again we're using 1, 2, 3, and 5. But it's backwards, right? So we're going to start with 5, and then we'll have 3 on the D sharp, 2 on the F sharp. Okay, so play around with the left hand, same kind of thing. So feel that octave position, move horizontally. Okay, let's try it. Same thing. We're in 3/4 time. I'll give 2 measures, and then we're in 1, 2, 3. Ready, play, and 5, 3, 2, 1. Cross 3. Hold the top, and 2, 3, under 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay. Awesome. Any questions on the scale and or arpeggio for B major? Okay. So make sure when you're practicing with your partner that you run through all of the scales, okay? And remember you're doing all white key scales, hands separately for the final, okay? Cool, let's review something that we did last week, a week from today, so let's turn to page 155. And I'd like us to go over Sleep Baby Sleep at the bottom. And we could have somebody play the left-hand chords and then somebody play the melody. Okay, but before we do that, let's go over, because I don't think we talked about how to harmonize this. So let's go over how we should harmonize this. So we're using either the 1 chord or the 5/7 chord in the 6/5 inversion. So first of all, what key are we in? F major, yeah. Okay, so most of the time we're gonna start on tonic, right? And in this case, we are, because we have the A, which is our 3rd scale degree. So that's gonna be part of the 1 chord. So let's put Roman numeral 1. And then what about the G? That's obviously not part of our 1 chord. And we need to have a chord to harmonize it. So it's part of our 5/7, right? Because in C7, we have the G. Okay. And then in measure 2, we get back on F, which is our tonic. So I would harmonize it with 1, 5, 6, 5, 1. Okay? And then in measure 3 and 4, we have the same melody basically, it's just a different rhythm. So you could use the same chords. 1, 5, 6, 5, and 1. Okay? And what would we write for the chord symbols above the measure? So for the 1 chord, what would we write as the chord symbol? F. And then what would we write for the 5, 6, 5 chord symbol? Yes. Yep, so C7, because you have to notate that it's a 7 chord, so C7 over E, because it's inverted. Okay? And then let's keep going. In measure 3 and 4, well, in measure, actually this isn't measure 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, in measure 5 and 6, sorry. We've got C, G, E, and C, so that's obviously our C chord. So let's harmonize that with the dominant 7, so 5, 6, 5. And again, that would be a C7 over E chord symbol. And then in the next measure there, you have C, A, F, so that's just our broken F chord. So let's do tonic there. Roman numeral 1 with the chord symbol F. Okay? And then measure 7 and 8. Measure 7, we got C broken triad, so let's harmonize that with the dominant 7. And then measure 8, we got the tonic, because it's really the same as the previous 2 measures, right? And then measure 9 and 10 is the same as the beginning, right? So 1, 5, 6, 5, 1. And then the last 2 measures is the same as measures 3 and 4. So 1, 5, 6, 5, 1. Okay, does everyone understand how we harmonize and how we came up with that? Okay. All right, and in our melody, we're mostly moving in steps or skips. We do have a couple leaps up to sixth there in measure 2 to 3. Okay, and then we've got our octave jump from measure 5 to 6. Okay, so I would pay close attention to the fingering that is written there, because I think that will help when reading. Okay. Who would like to try out the melody? You want to try it, Leah? Okay, cool. Would you like a partner or would you like to harmonize? A partner. Okay. Anyone want to try and do the 1, 5, 7? Leah's doing the hard part, right? So the other person just has to do 1, 5, 7, just on the correct beats, right? So you're just doing half notes. Anyone want to give that a go? How about, you want to try, Colin? Think you can do it? Let's do, all right, let's do Colin and Leah. These are next to each other. Okay, let's see if we can hear them. Can you hear both of them? Cool. So Colin, you're just playing half notes, right? So just, it would sound something like that. Okay? Yep, exactly. Okay, can one of you guys count off? Beautiful. Nice job, guys. Good. And then obviously the next step would be to put hands together. And really the left-hand chords, if you just practice going back and forth, it should just become like second nature, right? So then you can just really focus on that melody. Okay. Great. Thanks, guys. Okay, let's move on to Unit 12. And we're going to actually finish up Unit 12 today, and then we only have one more unit. Okay, so we'll spend the last few classes talking about our solo rep and reviewing for the final, and obviously doing those presentations. So yeah, we are coming down to the end. So let's turn to page 158. And this unit is talking about the subdominant chord. So have you learned about the subdominant chord in your theory class? Okay, so so far we have talked about the tonic chord, which is built on scale degree 1, right? And we've talked about the dominant 7 chord, which is built on scale degree 5. And the subdominant chord is built on scale degree 4. Okay, so we can call it the 4 chord, the Roman numeral 4 chord as well. So say we're in the key of C major, and we want to figure out our subdominant. We would first find scale degree 4. So what is scale degree 4 in the key of C major? F, okay? And then to build that triad, we're just going to build from the white key. So F, A, C, we get F major. Okay, so this is our subdominant chord, F major. Okay, now a lot of times if we're playing the subdominant chord in a progression, we're going to invert the chord so that it's easier and smoother to play. Okay, so we're going to keep the tonic of the key in the bass, and then we're going to put F in the middle, and then we're going to put A on the top. So it'll be built C, F, A. That way, if you're going back and forth from C to F, it's a lot more of a smoother transition than going root position C and then jumping all the way to F, right? Okay. So we can minimize that movement by just inverting the F major chord in the second inversion. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. And then if you look at page 159, that's exactly what you're doing. You're going back and forth from Roman numeral 1 to the subdominant 6-4 and back to the 1. Okay, and let's just try both hands. But before we do that, let's just kind of observe what is actually happening from the change. So it says, use the following steps to play the chord progression exercise. So number 1 is that the top note is moving up a whole step, right? So if we're starting with the C major and we want to go up to the subdominant, the top note goes up to A, right? So that's a whole step from G to A. Okay, and then what's happening to the middle note? It's going up, right? But what is the interval there? Half step. Okay, so the middle note is going up a half step. Okay, and then what's happening to the bottom note? It stays the same, right? We just talked about how it makes it easier because we don't have to move our whole hand. Okay, so that formula is going to apply to all major keys. So the top note goes up a whole step, and the middle tone goes up a half step. Okay. Also note the left hand fingering. Okay, so when we have a fourth, so from the C to the F, use finger 5 and 2 there. Okay, and then the right hand just uses finger 1, 3, and 5. Okay, so let's practice this little excerpt here in the middle of the page. So we start with the key of C major. It's just in half notes, so we go C and F and C. Okay, so try that a few times. C, F, C. And then we have the key of F major. Okay? And what's our scale degree 4 in the key of F major? B flat, okay? And again, let's invert B flat major into the second inversion. So now we have F, B flat, and D. Okay, so going back and forth, we would have F, A, C, F, B flat, D. Okay? Again, your middle tone is going up a half step, and your top tone is going up a whole step. Okay? So that formula still applies. Okay, then you have G major. What's our scale degree 4 in the key of G major? C, okay? So now we're going to move the B up to C and the D up to E for that whole step. Okay, so we have C major inverted in the second inversion, so. Okay. And then you could also practice the chord progression at the bottom of the page, where your left hand is just playing the root of the chord, okay, and then the right hand is playing the whole chord. Okay, so it would sound like if we're in the key of C major, we would have C, F, C, okay, where the left hand is just playing the root. And notice in the Roman numerals, we don't have to write the 6/4 because we've got the root at the bottom, or in the bass. So we wouldn't notate that that is an inversion. Okay? Any questions on the subdominant chord or the progression? Okay, let's keep going. And let's go to page 162. Okay, and these are some readings that I would like you to work on for next week, because we don't have class on Thursday, fun fact. I'm sure you already knew that. But, so, page 162, our left hand is going to be accompanying our right hand melody. So we've got two different accompanying patterns that we'll see. So at the top of the page, we see Alberti bass. So in that accompaniment pattern, we're going to be playing basically a broken chord, but we hit the bottom note, the top note, the middle, the top, and it's a pattern. Bottom, top, middle, top, bottom, top, middle, top. Okay, that's called Alberti bass. And then another accompaniment pattern would be the waltz bass, and it's basically almost a blocked triad, but you hit the bottom note, and then you hit the top two notes together at the same time on beats 2 and 3. Okay, so you'll have down, up, up, down, up, up. And most of the time it's in 3/4 time, a waltz. Okay, so you want to think strong beat on beat 1, and then beats 2 and 3 are weaker. So you want to think down, up, down, up, strong, light, light, strong, light, light. Okay? So you'll see both of these patterns in the next two exercises. So let's look at number 1. What is our accompaniment pattern? Is it the Alberti bass or the waltz bass? Alberti bass, okay? And it might be helpful to just look at that pattern and write down the Roman numerals. Okay, so first of all, what key are we in? G major, okay? So measure 1, we have broken G major chord, so let's notate that with Roman numeral 1, our tonic chord. And then what's measure 2? The what? So let's look at what the notes are. So we have G, E, C, E. Okay, so the notes, it would build a C major chord, right? So what is the C major chord in relation to the key of G major? Subdominant. Does that make sense? Okay, and what inversion is it in? The one we practiced, right? So the second inversion, because we're keeping that G on the bottom. So you would write that as 4, 6, 4. Okay, then measure 3, we're back in the tonic. And then what about measure 4? We got F sharp, D, C, D. Okay? So since we have that C in there, we can assume that it's D7, right? Which is our dominant 7 in the key of G major. Does that make sense how we got that? It's just a 5, 6, 5, right? Because we have the F sharp at the bottom. Okay, and then the last 4 measures are harmonized in a similar way. So you have the 1, the 4, 6, 4, and then you're going to resolve with 5, 6, 5 to 1 in the last 2 measures. Okay, and then perhaps the trickiest part about the melody is from measure 5 to 6, when you have a stretch in thirds from G, B, and D. So you're going to use finger 1, 2, and 4. That way your finger 5 can reach up to the E. Okay, so I would follow the fingering there. So it would sound like, oops, I messed up the chord. Okay, and then from measure 6 to 7, you have to move your entire hand. You're going to put finger 5 on the D. Okay, so you're really just moving your whole hand down a key. Right, so sometimes I like to, in my music, just put an arrow going down and write 1 step or something like that. So I know I'm lifting my entire hand. Okay, so then it would sound like this. Starting at measure 5, it sounds like. Then move your hand. Okay. Any questions on exercise 1? Okay. All right, let's look at number 2, and you'll see we're not using the Alberti bass anymore. We're using the waltz pattern, right? So we're in 3/4 time, and again, we're going to think down, up, like it's a dance, right? So you really want to feel those strong beats. What key are we in? D major, okay? And how would we harmonize the first 2 measures? Well, how are they harmonized? What Roman numeral? 1, okay? So when you're writing the Roman numerals, if you have 2 consecutive measures of the same chord, then you don't need to write the Roman numeral under both measures. So you could just write Roman numeral 1 under measure 1, and then leave measure 2 blank. Okay? And then measure 3, how is that harmonized? We have D, G, and B. The 4, yeah. So that's our subdominant, and it's in the 6/4 inversion. So we'd write 4, 6, 4 under measure 3, and then nothing under measure 4 since it's the same harmonization. Okay? Measure 5, we return back to the tonic, right? Okay? In measure 6, we see our second there in beats 2 and 3, so that's kind of a giveaway that it's the 5/7, right? So C sharp, G, and A, so that's our A7, right, in the second inversion, so we would mark that with 5, 6, 5. Okay, and then the last 2 measures, we're back in tonic. Okay, does that make sense how we got those Roman numerals? Okay. And then in our melody, again, we have the thirds from finger 4, 2, and 1. So just careful with the fingering there, and make sure that we are covering our distance. So from 4, 2 to 1, we go A, F sharp. Another tricky spot might be from measure 3 to 4. we have to switch fingers on the same key. So we'll have finger 3 on the G, and then immediately on the next beat we have to switch finger 4 on the G. Okay, because we're playing 3 on the F sharp in the next measure. So that's why we have to move. Okay, so I would circle the 4 and then do like a horizontal line from the G to the G, so you know you're staying on that note, but you're switching fingers. Okay, so it sounds something like this. For the first phrase. Okay, also notice the dynamic differences. So in the first phrase, we're mezzo forte, and then we want to show the contrast in the second phrase with piano. Okay. And then say we wanted to transpose this to E flat major. What would be our 1 chord in the key of E flat major? What would be the notes of the 1 chord? E flat, and then what's on beats 2 and 3? G and B flat. And then what's our notes for the subdominant chord in E flat major? Yeah, E flat, A flat, C. Yeah, if we're going to invert it. Yeah, so. Okay, then back to 1. And then how would we do our dominant 7 in the key of E flat? Lower the bottom down a half step, and then keep the A flat and the B flat, right? Okay. And then everything else would be raised a half step, right? Because we're going from D major to E flat major. So everything in the melody would be raised a half step. Okay, any questions on page 162? Okay. 163 is just more exercises. I'd like you to look at these on your own for homework. So these don't have the Alberti bass or the waltz pattern. It's different accompaniment patterns here. So in number 3, you just have blocked chords, right, on each beat, keeping the steady tempo there. I won't give too much information on this one, but let's at least talk about what the key is. That way when you're practicing at on your own time, you can write down the Roman numerals. So what key is number 3 in? F major. So let's right now, before we even start practicing, I like to write the key like to the left of the first measure. So I'm just going to write F with an M next to it, so I know it's F major. Okay, and like I said, I would just follow the same process that we did for the other 2 exercises and write down the Roman numerals. Okay, you could also do the chord symbols if that helps you visually as well. Okay, and in your melody, if you have any spots in your melody where you're missing a note, or you find difficulty getting to a certain note, just write down the finger number, right? Okay, we have short phrases in this one, so you should breathe between measure 1 and 2 and 2 to 3. Okay. And then if you look at number 4, we have a different accompaniment pattern there. It's just broken chords, right? We're in 6/8 time. And what key is number 4 in? No sharps and flats. C major, yeah. Okay, so let's write C with an M next to it above the first measure. So we know it's in C major. And again, just follow that same process, writing down the Roman numerals, any fingerings that trip you up in the melody. Okay, and then try hands together. Okay. I think I probably won't have you play these in the transposed key, but it's still good to figure out the chords in the transposed key. So like, just figure out, okay, what if I wanted to change this to G major? And then just figure out the chords. And then same thing for the bottom one. Figure out what the chords would be in B flat major. Okay, but I probably won't have you play in the transposed key. Okay. Any questions on page 162 and 163? Okay. Let's keep going. So on page 164, we've got some harmonizations. And we'll go over a couple of these, and then I want you to complete the rest of 164 and 165 for your homework. Okay, so we're harmonizing these melodies with the tonic chord, the dominant chord, and the subdominant chord. Okay, and if you look at the top of page 164, it gives you some rules for harmonizing these. So we're going to use the tonic when in our melody we have mostly scale degrees 1, 3, and 5. Okay, when we have mostly scale tones 2, 4, 5, and 7, we're going to harmonize with the dominant. And when we have mostly scale tones 1, 4, and 6, we're going to use the subdominant. Okay, so that's important to just kind of memorize as you're harmonizing all of these. Actually, it continues on to page 166 as well. So you'll use those rules throughout the next couple pages. Okay. So let's look at the first one here on page 164, Sally Go Round. What key are we in? We've got 3 flats, E flat major. Okay. And in our first measure, we have scale degree 1, E flat, and we have G, which is scale degree 3, right? So if we have scale degree 1 and 3, what's going to be our chord that we harmonize? Well, it's also the first chord, so most of the time we're going to start with the tonic. And in this case, we are starting with the tonic, right? Because we have scale degree 1 and scale degree 3. Okay, so that's our tonic. E flat would be the chord symbol. Okay, what about in measure 2? We've got a B flat, but what scale degree is that in the key of E flat? That's our 5. So we could use the dominant chord to harmonize that, but it just would be a little bit of a weaker sound with that half cadence there. So I would say let's stay on the tonic chord. So it just sounds, I'll play the difference. Either way sounds fine. It's just when you put all the pieces together, it just sounds a little bit stronger if we stay on tonic there. So, okay. Okay, so that's if we stayed on the tonic. Here's what it would sound like if we went to the dominant. So either way sounds fine. It's just with what's coming next, it just flows a little bit better if we keep the 1. So let's keep the 1. And then what about in measure 3? We've got C. What is C in the key of E flat? What scale degree? 6. Okay, and what chord should we harmonize for scale degree 6? The subdominant. Okay, let's use the 6/4 inversion. Okay, and what chord is that? What's our chord symbol? A flat, C, E flat, right? It's an A flat major chord. So you just write A flat over E flat. Okay, and then again in measure 4 we have B flat. We could harmonize with the 5/7. But like I said, I think it's going to be stronger if we end on tonic there. So I'll show you both ways. So we could go, here's from the beginning. Okay, so I think it just, first of all, it's a little bit awkward to go from the 5/7 chord to the 4 chord. So let's definitely keep Roman numeral 1, the tonic, in measure 2. Okay, and it really just depends on if you want to end on a half cadence there in the second phrase, or end with a stronger, authentic cadence with the tonic at the end. So here's the half cadence. Sounds fine, right? Okay, here's what the authentic cadence. It's just a little bit stronger, right? If we keep the authentic cadence. Okay, and then for the last 4 measures, we can harmonize using the tonic chord in measure 5 and 6, since we have scale degree 1, and then we have scale degree 3. And then the last 2 measures, we have that common cadence 5, 6, 5 to 1. Because we've got our F, E flat F, G, E flat. Okay. And your accompaniment pattern is just broken chords. Okay. Does that make sense how we harmonize that? Okay. So in certain situations, multiple chords could be possible. So you kind of just have to play it and see how it sounds. And if there's one chord that fits better, then I would go with that chord. Okay. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to get through the other harmonizations. But I would work on these with your partner and just together figure out how to harmonize, because it might be helpful to get some different perspectives, because one person might think that one chord sounds better and then the other person might think a different chord sounds better, and you can kind of discuss from there. So I'd like you to look at the rest of page 164 through page 166. It's all the same kind of thing. Okay, follow the rules that are on top of page 164 so that you know how to harmonize. Okay? And that concludes Unit 12. Okay? I have a couple of pages for assignments in your Fisher Level 3 book. Okay, so if you have your Level 3 Fisher sight reading book, I'd like you to complete page 41 through 44. So I believe that is, it's primary chords in the key of G major. So it's just practicing figuring out chords in that key. So you can go through those pages. Again, I won't ask you to turn them in, but just kind of go through them and make sure you understand it and how to notate the chord on the staff. And then also complete page 68 through 71. I think this is in the key of F major.
Which one?
41 to 44. Okay, and then 68 to 71 is primary chords in the key of F major. Same type of thing. Okay, just more practice with chords and inversions. Okay, with the tonic, subdominant, and dominant. Okay, and then just one more thing before we go. A couple practice tips from your breath trifold. So let's incorporate number 19. So a lot of these exercises that you're going to practice this week have left-hand accompaniment patterns. So you want to make sure that your accompaniment pattern isn't overpowering your melody in the right hand. So you can practice number 19, Ghosts. So it says, play the melody with singing tone at the same time as you pretend play the accompaniment like a ghost silently. So basically you're gonna practice the right hand, but the left hand is just gonna be ghosting, or just lightly hovering over the keys as you play the melody. And then once you put hands together, it should be a little easier to play the left hand softer. Okay, and then another tip you could implement is stop and go. It's number 49. And this could apply to when you practice your solo as well. So it says whenever you miss a note or rhythm, stop and play it correctly 4 times. So basically, mistakes that happen over and over again aren't going to fix themselves, right? So if you are repeatedly missing a part, you have to go back and fix that part. And then once it's fixed, then it's more likely that the next time you play it, you won't miss it again, okay? Cool. Any questions on anything? Okay, I will see you guys next Tuesday. No class Thursday.